Hi everyone, welcome back to The Impeccable Investor. Having a steady stream of monthly income is very important, and one of the best ways to do this is to invest in monthly dividend ETFs. Unlike other ETFs, the monthly dividend ETFs pay dividends every month, so you can pretty much be sure of receiving a certain amount of income every month. The dividends ETFs also allow the investors to be able to diversify their portfolios and minimize the risks. Each ETF has its own specific area of investment, and each area of investment has its own fair share of pros and cons. So it is always a good idea to spread your investment across different ETFs in order to minimize the risk, just in case the stock markets fall. So in today's video, we will be taking you through some of the best monthly dividend ETFs. But before we do that, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and have already pressed the bell icon as well so that you can watch our amazing videos on investing and financial freedom on a regular basis. Alright now, without any further ado, let's take a look at the 5 best monthly dividend ETFs out there. Number 5. S&P 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF. Having the ticker symbol SPHD, the S&P 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF has dividend yield of 4.2%. It has assets of around $3.7 billion and it has a fee of 30 basis points. What this ETF does is that they take the 75 of the highest paying dividend stocks from S&P 500, and then after studying them thoroughly, they narrow down to 50 of the top companies that have the lowest volatility. After that, they weight the stocks as per their dividend yield. This approach is quite different from other ETFs who, instead of looking at the dividend yield, look at the total market cap of the companies. Both the approaches have their own pros and cons, but the dividend yield approach is surely quite different and it has its fair share of benefits. The S&P 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF has been very consistent with the dividends. This ETF is a pretty good buy if you want to access some of the top companies like ExxonMobil, IBM, UPS, Chevron, and others. Number 4. Vanguard IntermediateTerm Corporate Bond ETF. Having the ticker symbol VCIT, the Vanguard IntermediateTerm Corporate Bond ETF has a dividend yield of 3.3%. It has assets of $27 billion and it has a fee of 5 basis points. This ETF basically buys the various corporate bonds that have a maturity somewhere between 5 and 10 years. VCIT invests in bonds from companies like Bank of America, CVS, Broadcom, and Microsoft. They have 1,700 different bonds in their ETF, so it is a very well diversified ETF. They have a really good dividend history and they're consistently paid above 20 cents every month for the past few years. So if you are looking for a good source of income while minimizing your risk, this is one ETF that you should definitely consider. Number 3. iShares USD Emerging Markets Bond ETF. The iShares USD Emerging Markets Bond ETF is traded under the ticker symbol of EMB. It has a dividend yield of 4.5%. The total asset value of this ETF is around $15 billion, which is pretty good. And with this ETF, you are basically looking at a fee of 39 basis points, which is not that high. What they do is that they mostly invest in the government bonds. They focus on developing countries. Their 3 largest investments are Mexico, Indonesia, and Turkey. Like other ETFs in this list, their dividend history is also pretty good. They paid a very large dividend of $1.29 at the end of 2018. Other than that, they have consistently maintained their dividends at around 40 cents. Number 2. Invesco Financial Preferred ETF. Traded under the ticker symbol of PGF, the Invesco Financial Preferred ETF has a dividend yield of 5.1%, and it has a fee of 63 basis points. Now, the fee for this ETF is obviously a bit high, but it is a great ETF if you are looking to hold something in the financial sector. The Invesco Financial Preferred ETF has historically given steady dividends, and it is also a really good way of getting into preferred shares. Number 1. Invesco High Yield Equity Dividend Achievers ETF. The Invesco High Yield Equity Dividend Achievers ETF is traded under the ticker symbol of PEY. It has a dividend yield of 3.9% and it has total assets of around $945 million. The fee for this ETF is 54 basis points. What they do in this ETF is that they hold the highest dividend yielding stocks from NASDAQ, and they had to increase their dividend for at least 10 consecutive years. So this ETF is somewhat like the Dividend Aristocrats ETF, in which they go for companies that have consistently increased their dividends. This ETF also pays the dividends on a monthly basis. Well, these were some great ETFs that you can look forward to investing in if you want to minimize the risk and diversify your portfolio. Do thumbs up the video and subscribe to the channel as well. We will see you guys in another video. Goodbye.